Good evening. In our news headlines for tonight, the increase of the departure tax has been deferred from last week. A Niuean architecture student from Victoria University is on the island to conduct his master's research. TV Niue has now switched off its analog services indefinitely. Businesses have been encouraged to install fire safety equipment on their premises. Government's proposed increase to the departure tax has been deferred after a bit of confusion at the airport last week. Public notice was issued on Monday the 3rd of July that the increase to the tax would be from $34 up to $80, effective as of the 1st of July and applicable to all aged 12 and above. This caused some mixed reaction from travellers who were unaware of these changes. The discussion about the increase for the departure tax has been ongoing since it was tabled in the Legislative Assembly last year, and regulations were passed in February this year. From those discussions, members were informed that the new departure tax of $80 would be built into the airfares, and the carrier, that is Air New Zealand, would collect the taxes on behalf of government. For travellers who have booked as of the 1st of July, the new departure tax has already been incorporated into the system. However, for travellers who booked their travels in advance, even as far as last year, they have been informed to pay the new departure tax. BCN understands that passengers who left the island last week paid the old departure tax. An official advisory of these changes has not been received from government, and BCN has approached government officials for comment, but they were unavailable. A Niuean University student from Victoria University in Wellington is in Niue to conduct research for his master's thesis. Anthony Liuvaye is studying architecture, and he has 1 year to work on his thesis. This trip to Niue is the initial stage for his field study that will involve a series of discussions with different groups.
My project aims for this thesis is, one, I'm trying to preserve local knowledge to do with Niuean architecture, Niuean buildings and traditions. Two is to design a new centre that really reflects our culture and supports the community socially and economically. And three is to provide a better design guidelines for coastal areas such as Ariluki and everywhere else in Niue. And also the design guideline can also be applicable to other small Pacific nations. The biggest problem for me overseas is that there's not much information written about Niue, especially to do with architecture. So this trip here, 3 weeks, is, if I put into perspective, is too short to come here and do research, but I have to try and cram everything into this 3 weeks because I know how valuable this part of my research is. And in terms of the focus groups, I'm looking at trying to get the community involved and also the government agencies, but through the community I'm looking at to involve the high school students, returning students or returning people who return to live in Niue, and also the elders and the matuas that have lived in Niue for a while in the coastal areas.
A presentation with the heads of department was held at the Public Service Building yesterday as an introduction to the project and to provide information about the research and what the possibilities are in terms of development of coastal areas.
And the response was really interesting, to say the least. The best thing about it, the really positive thing about it, was that it really opened up their minds about different solutions that you can do for the coastal areas. You, instead of just red zoning it and just making it so you can't use it, part of my thesis is to challenge that and look at this red zone and look at ways where we can actually have activities on these coastal areas. But the only rule is that you can't actually build a building there or to live. You can build businesses and stuff like that, so it really benefits the community and also the Niuean people and the economy as well. I've had a few discussions before with some of the head of departments, and personally for me I would really like to come back and present my final work, really present my findings not just to the head of departments and the people who have helped me out, but also to the community, because the work that I'm doing now is for the community. It's not just for me or the government, it's for the people. So I'm really hoping that once I'm done, once I hand in my thesis, that I can come back and really present the work, the design outcome that I've done, and hopefully it will make us proud. Yeah.
With only 3 weeks to complete the field study part of his project, Anthony says he is still looking for more returning students or families who would like to be part of this study. TV Niue has now switched off its analogue services indefinitely, which will mean that all TV customers will need to switch to the new digital TV system. The introduction of the digital television system offered customers a selection of 12 channels, but on a user-pay system. This new system also gives the corporation more control over the signal that is being broadcasted and the ability to switch off customers who fail to make payment for services. The transition from analog to digital has not been without its own teething problems, and the concept of having to pay for television may be a foreign concept for some of those who have not paid for years. Some customers have commented that the analog system or signal is far better than the digital TV, and their preference would be to keep the analog on a free-to-air basis. Unfortunately, that is not the case, because the new TV system will be fair on all customers who will have to pay for the services received. The analog system will no longer be used unless in cases of emergencies. The Niue Fire Department is encouraging the private sector, government departments and local residents to invest in fire safety equipment within their premises. Restaurants are required by the Health Code to have 1 or 2 extinguishers on their premises depending on the size of the building, and accommodation providers are also required to have safety equipment or some kind of fire prevention within the establishment. The Fire Department conducted an evaluation review at the beginning of this year, and from the findings they identified that there was a need to replace and upgrade some of the equipment on island.
We found throughout the last 10 years is that over 80% of government extinguishers have expired and need to be replaced and haven't been replaced. So that's what we're trying to do, is to inform them that they needed to replace them. So there was a lot of confusion in between who was supposed to purchase them and who's supposed to purchase them. So we always advised them to purchase them, and we always said we'll try. So this year we are making a better effort to order in new extinguishers for our government departments and private sector.
The Fire Department believes that the new guidelines within the building code will motivate businesses and departments to have fire safety equipment as a safety precaution.
Chamber of Commerce is also helping us. So for all businesses that are registered underneath Chamber of Commerce, their chamber is willing to pay half of the fire extinguisher or fire blankets that is needed for their establishments. Well, the whole point of having fire extinguishers and fire blankets is to save lives. So, it can always, in the event of a fire, you never know what happened. So as you can see, in the last few years, we've been having a lot of fires. And, luckily nobody's inside the house, but if we were to have someone in the house, or so we were trying to put out the fire, it's a peace of mind to have something there to help extinguish the fire. They may cause more harm, not just life, but also property. A lot of livelihoods are inside their houses, a lot of lives inside businesses like Maravai, where there's a lot of people, and we just want to make sure that all staff and all people know how to use them. So that is also something we are doing, is also not just buying them, but providing training and installation to make sure they're installed in the right place.
Once the equipment's installed within the departments, accommodation and restaurants, the Fire Department will conduct reviews every 6 months. And those are our news stories that we have for you this evening. Don't forget that the Alofi South Show Day is on this weekend, on Saturday, at the Halamahanga Old Primary School grounds.